Now, for more on this, let me bring in our current affair commentator, Victor Gao. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
CPC Central Committee holds a plenary meeting every autumn, and this is reported to be the sixth and last plenum for the current CPC National Congress. What do you think are the significance of this meeting?
For this year's sixth plenum session of the 18th Party Congress, there are two major points. One is, as usual, the sixth plenum would chart out the roadmap for the next Party Congress, which is the 19th Party Congress, expected to take place in the second half of 2017, most likely in October or November. And I think it involves a bunch of things, including, for example, the new membership of the Central Committee and the possible composition of the Politburo as well as its standing committee. So these are very important potential personnel changes and new appointments, etc. And this will really have profound significance for the next 5 years, that is beyond November or October 2017. So this definitely will be a major part of the sixth plenum. For this year's sixth plenum, another major point is the anti-corruption campaign. So far, the Central Committee has led China over the past 3 or 4 years in clamping down on corruption, but mostly it's on individual cases. I think the party really need to come up with very strict checks and balances to be institutionalized as part of the system, so that party members, party leaders will no longer dare to commit any misdeeds or crimes of corruption going forward. And if anyone does commit corruption, the institution will have sufficient amount of checks and balances to discover the problem and bring the criminals or those who misbehave within the party, violating the party regulations, to justice very soon.
And of course, this combating corruption campaign has been on top of the agenda. It's been reported as one of the hallmark of Xi Jinping's administration, and you've suggested some constructive advice. What do you make of the actions has been taken so far on the campaign?
Well, as a rule of thumb, I think each party congress and each central committee has always talked about the importance of campaign against corruption. However, what distinguishes President Xi Jinping's leadership is that it not only talks about anti-corruption, but really walks the walk. Mainly, really bring into action a whole series of measures against the corrupt officials. And I think the broad masses of not only the party members, but also people throughout China support the anti-corruption campaign. However, there are complaints about whether the anti-corruption campaign has been so much that it actually contributes to the slowing down of the economy and takes away dynamism from the economic life, etc. So I think this plenum need to come up with a firm view as to the importance and the necessity of the anti-corruption campaign, and also, as I mentioned, come up with very institutionalized the guidelines, the roadmaps, the procedures, the checks and balances against anti-corruption. Anti-corruption cannot be done just by 1 year or 2 years, or in the heat of a new election into the Central Committee, for example. It needs to be always sustained, and no effort to sustain the anti-corruption campaign will really mean that the anti-corruption campaign will still be futile by the end of the day. And this will be the worst case scenario we need to avoid. And I think the sixth plenum will really spell out the details of the institutionalized measures against corruption, which will not only be binding on the party members now, but going forward on a sustainable basis.
All right, many thanks, Victor.
Thank you.